Welcome to our session in Managerial Economics, where we're going to solve managerial problems. So, definition of managerial economics is simply science that integrates economic theory and decision sciences. It is application of economic theory, which includes micro and macroeconomics, and decision sciences, which include mathematical economics and econometrics, to solving managerial problems optimally. So this is what we call managerial economics. So the scope of managerial economics, we will look at the theory of a firm and how to evaluate the expected value of a firm using cash flows. So to start with, we need to understand that the primary objective or aim of a firm is to maximize the profits. Of course, other firms exist to break even, to live at par. But most of the institutions exist because they want to maximize profits. And so we're going to look at the theory of a firm, where we're going to calculate the value of a firm using what are called the present values to compute the value of a firm. There are other alternative theories that have been theorized in managerial economics. We have what we call the sales maximization theory, which simply says that firms are there to maximize their sales. They emphasize more on having sales or having an adequate rate of profits rather than just maximizing profits. Others, they theorize the existence of firms as maximizing utility or management of utility. So they say utility is simply having the satisfactory point where firms are going to achieve their best available or optimal satisfaction from them. Then finally, others have come up with what is called a satisficing behavior. Now, satisficing behavior is a break-even behavior where firms exist only to break even. Firms here exist only to survive. So, as we're going to look at the profit maximizing aim, we will need to understand some definitions of profits. There's what we call business profits, which is simply total revenue minus the total cost. So the total revenue minus the out-of-pocket costs, which are called the explicit costs of production. We also have what we call economic profits. This is the total revenue minus the explicit costs. We also subtract the implicit costs, the implied costs that are not out of pocket but are actually incurred. So if you are a businessman and you are not paying rent because you own that building, to calculate your economic profits, you need to also charge for rent and perceive the building as if you were renting it, so that you earn what is called economic profit. Then the opportunity cost simply talks about the implicit value of a resource and its next best alternative. This is the value or the benefit that is earned or foregone for choosing a particular alternative. You want to work and you're getting 5,000 kwacha. If you don't work, you'll be a businessman, you'll be getting maybe 10,000 kwacha. What is opportunity cost? What is the benefit of not working? That is what we call opportunity cost. So in calculating the value of a firm, examiners would give you a question. For instance, a firm, the value of a firm is simply given by the cash flows, information of the cash flows, plus R to the power N. So if you have a firm that makes year 1, year 2, and year 3. Okay, so this is our current year. We have year 1, year 2, and year 3. And you keep making 100 kwacha in each year. 100 kwacha this second year. And in the third year, maybe you want to sell that firm for 500 kwacha. And somebody's offering to buy it now. How much is the value of that firm if the interest rate or the discount rate that is associated is, for instance, 10%? So according to the value of the firm formula, we need to discount each of these values to now. This 100 kwacha, if we're going to claim it now, ideally the total value of this cash flows is 7,000. But because of time value of money, you want to get this firm now, you need to discount it to the present value. So we're going to divide 1 plus R to the power N. So this will be 100, which is a cash flow in year 1. Our rate is 10%, so R is 0.10. So 0.10, we add it to the 1, we're going to get 1.1. So 1.1 to the power 1. 1.10 to the power 1. This is year 1. The second amount here we have is what? 100. This 100, we're going to put 1.10 to the power what? 2. Since this is in year 2. Then the selling price of the firm is 500. So we're going to put this 500 over 1.1 to the power what? To the power 3, because this is at the end of the third year. So how much is this 100 kwacha worth today? The one we were supposed to get in the first year. How much is this 100 kwacha today? The one we're supposed to get in the second year. So using the value of the firm theory, so we're going to divide now. So 100 kwacha divided by 1.1, this is 90 kwacha 0.90. So this is 90.90. Okay. And this 100 kwacha, which we're supposed to get in the second year, if we're going to evaluate it now, we're going to get 82.64. That's a value of it. Then we get 500 the power 3. So this, whenever you're joining a class, it's always good manners to join whilst you're muted. So 375.66. So this is how much this 500 will be worth today. So when you add all this, this is what will give you the value of the firm. The value of the firm, therefore, when we add all this, what we get? 90.90 plus 82.64 plus 375.66 75.66, which is equal to
549.19.
549. Point what?
0.197.
197.20. Okay. So this is how we calculate the value of a firm. So questions like this only carry about 5 marks, but you need to know how much is the firm worth. It was giving cash flows of so much today. So we're just discounting each of those values to the figure now.
I have a question. Those values, the value that we found, is it the future value of the money that we have today? What is the definition of the amount that we found?
Your question is what?
The values that we are finding at the end of year 1, year 2, and year 3, is that the future value or the current value, like the 90.90?
Is the present value now. How much is the 500 worth today now? So the present value of the 500 will be 375. The present value of the 100 will be 82. The present value of the 500 will be 375. So when you evaluate all this, the value of the firm is actually 549, not the 700 that somebody would want. So this brings the principle of what we call time value of money. Whenever you're evaluating firms, you discount them at what is called a discount rate. So if there was 8% here, I would have put 1.08 to the power 1, 1.08 to the power 2, 1.08 to the power 3. So this is how we find the value of the firm. Any questions at this point?
Could you just go over the terms in the formula again? Is that total of CF over 1 plus R over N to the power N?
The firm is simply the summation of the cash flows each of these years divided by 1 plus the discount rate or the appropriate discount rate to the power N. N is the number of years or the time. So we're given a projection of having 1 in year 1, 200 in year 2, and 500 in year 3. So you're being asked to evaluate this firm. All right, then we quickly go to, we only have 15 minutes, demand theory. So demand theory is quite vast. The assumption under demand theory is that a human being has a rational mind, always wanting more for less. So the principle or the law of demand says the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded for a normal good. This is what the law of demand simply stipulates. And because of this principle, the demand function is given by A minus Bx. The slope is always what? Negative. This is the inverse formula for the demand. The direct formula for the demand is A minus BP. So there are factors that affect demand. There are about 10. These factors culminate in elasticity. How you demand a particular good will do what? Would determine the type of sensitivity you will have to buying it. So these factors, we denote them by letters. Others do not have letters. So we have the price of that good, X, the price of the other good, which could be a complement, inferior, or a substitute good. And we have income, which is denoted by Y. Sometimes income is denoted by M. Sometimes income is denoted by I. We also have test, which is denoted by T. The test is the preference. We also have technology. It's a factor that affects your demand. Okay. You also mentioned the other issues. Also have advertising. It affects demand. Without advertising, how many could have known Collins? How many could have known Unilas? Advertising, and also we have population, which is denoted by N, natural population, right? We also have culture, weather. These are the other factors that affect demand. So these ones will also give us what is called elasticity. It's what we call on-price elasticity. So elasticity for that particular good. And there's also cross-price elasticity. This is elasticity that moves from one good to the other, XY. And we also have income elasticity, that is EY. We also have elasticity of what? Advertising. Now, the factors that affect demand are very important because they predetermine how much of a commodity you're going to buy. If the price is high, you're going to move along the demand schedule. So this movement is a movement along the curve from point A to point B. So if the price of a commodity was 5 kwacha and it has now, and you're getting how many units? You're getting 10. And it has gone to maybe 7 kwacha, and you have gone down maybe to 6 units. So this movement along from point A to point B, moving along. So this shift is a movement due to the changes in prices. So this is on price elasticity. What is happening within the particular commodity? On price elasticity. So elasticity ranges from negative, so from 0, we know elasticity is always on the negative side, to -1, to -2 upwards. So anything between 0 and -1 is called inelastic. Anything exactly at 1 is unit elastic. Anything above 1 is elastic. So in the setting, the 0, it's not very sensitive. At 1, it's just 50-50. More than 1, it is what? Elastic. So you need to comment whether demand is elastic, whether demand is inelastic. All right, let's do a quick, can you remember? Just tell me whether it's inelastic, whether it is elastic, whether it is unit elastic, or whether that is not an elasticity of demand. Okay, so I'll give you points A, B, C, and D. So please don't embarrass me. You're online, you're being recorded here. I've just taught what I have taught you. So what is A, B, C, and D? Just tell me whether it's elastic or inelastic or unit. A.
Inelastic.
Inelastic, good, it starts with a 0. B. Somebody else, B. elastic. C,
Inelastic.
C is what? Unit elastic. Okay. D, is elastic. And E is not an elasticity of what? It's not an elasticity of demand. It's an elasticity of supply. All right. So elasticity of supply is always what? Negative. So E would be elasticity of supply or something else. Are we together so far? Are we moving together? Anyone behind so far? Please ask before I proceed.
Collins, I think you meant to say elasticity of demand is always in the negative.
Yes, always in the negative. Yes.
Yeah, because you had said the other way around.
Oh, okay, thank you for that. Elasticity of demand is always a negative. All right. So we go to cross price elasticity. Cross price elasticity has to do with what happens from one good jumping to another. Why should we be concerned about other goods? So this is a negative side, and this is a positive side. So elasticity can be negative or positive for cross price elasticity. So if elasticity is negative, we call that a complementary good. If elasticity is positive, we call that a substitute good. By definition, what is a substitute good and what is a complementary good?
For complementary goods, these are goods that go hand in hand. For example, cornflakes and milk are complementary goods.
Okay, they go hand in hand, yeah. And the substitute good?
They are goods that you can, okay, I don't know about the definition, but that you can use either this or the other one. Like, for example, tea and coffee, you can either have tea or coffee. You can substitute one for the other.
Okay, that's correct. They move. So substitute goods, they compete against each other. Okay, substitute goods compete against each other, whereas complementary goods, they move hand in hand. So they have the same usage. So candolo and bread, what kinds of goods are these ones?
Substitutes.
Yeah, substitute goods. So what happens when bread is 5 kwacha and candolo goes to 3 kwacha?
We buy candolo instead of bread.
Yes, so what we call that switch?
That's a substitute. You're substituting bread with candle.
Yes, that's called substitution effect. The tendency to switch from one to the other is called substitution effect. All right. So this happens when there are close substitutes available. So this happens mainly in a perfectly competitive market, not in a monopoly. In a monopoly, there are no substitutes. There will be no monopoly if you have what? Substitutes available. complementary, they move hand in hand. You have second thoughts of buying this particular good if the other one is not there. Right? Like buying a phone that has no SIM card provision, assuming that a phone can only work with what? With SIM card, or assuming a car works with diesel and there's no diesel in the country, so there's no need of buying that. So it gives you a picture of what you should get for this, because one set is complete with the other. That's why it has a negative what? Elasticity. Because one affects the other badly. So we also have income elasticity. Income looks at three types of goods. We have the negative side and the positive side. So here, when it's a negative, we call it an inferior good. Between 0 and 1, we call it a normal good. And above 1, we call that what? A luxurious good. An inferior good is a good whose elasticity of income is negative. As your income increases, you demand less of it. Like Salaula, income goes up, you don't want to go and queue up there. As when we're growing up, they used to buy a lot of this, you know. It was prestige to go into a boutique to have clothes. Normal good, you demand more of it as your income goes up. Luxurious goods are goods that we can do away without. Are we together? Are we moving at the same page?
Yes.
And elasticity of advertising shows you the contribution that an advertisement has on the sales. One kwacha on advertisement has on sales. So if it is inelastic, it is not very effective. If it's elastic, it is very effective. So elasticity of advertising is positive because of the positive relationship. The higher you advertise, the higher the what? The sales. But the extent to which one contributes to the other is what matters. So there's what we call point elasticity of demand and arc price elasticity of demand. So the tendency of elasticity changing between a certain price ranges creates an arc. So we want to calculate the elasticity of demand between A and B. So what is at A? 6,7. What is at B?
10,5.
5. So this is our Q, and this is our price. Q is always here, price always here. So the elasticity of demand is simply the percentage change in what? Quantity over price. So 6 minus 10 divided by what? 7 minus 5. So the top part is giving us what? -4. The bottom part is giving us what? +2. The answer we're getting is a -2. So what type of elasticity is this? Demand is elastic or inelastic or unit? Tell me.
It's elastic.
All right. It's elastic, correct. All right. So sometimes you'll be given an equation instead, an equation to compute. So when you're given an equation and P is subject to a formula, your elasticity of demand will be 1 over B times price over quantity. Because this is called an inverse demand function. If your Q is subject to a formula, the elasticity of demand will simply be the direct one, B times price over quantity. All right, so in this case, suppose our demand function was 10 minus what? 2Q. And the Q is, for instance, the Q is 3. So what becomes our P if we put the Q3 there? Our P will be what? If we substitute a 3 in there, so it will be 2 times 3 is 6. 10 minus
4.
we get a 4. Are we all agreeing?
Yes.
Then which formula do we use? Formula 1 or formula 2? Since we're using the inverse demand, we're using formula 1 here. The slope here is what? Negative 2. So we're going to have 1 over negative 2 times the price. What's the price? 4. And our quantity? 3. So when we compute this, we're going to get 4 over 6, which is negative 0.67. The function can also come in terms of Q. 10 minus what? 2P. And we're given our price here as 3. So what is our quantity if our price is 3? Our quantity is 4. Which formula are we using? Elasticity of demand. We're using formula number 2 here. So our B is negative 2. So directly we put negative 2 here. So negative 2 times our price is 3. Our quantity is 4. So this will be 6 over 4, which is 1.5 negative. So in this case, demand will be what? Elastic. Demand is elastic. Finally, just have a minute. I have another class. You'll be given an equation like this. 2 minus 3px plus 4py plus 10m. You're given that the price of x is 2, price of y is 3, the income, M, is 5. So number 1, find the current demand for the Q, the current output. Here you simply substitute. Where there's PX, what are we putting?
2.
Where there's PY, what are we putting?
3.
3. And where there's M, what are we putting?
5.
And what are we getting at the total? 2 minus 6 plus 12 plus 50. What are we getting? $64, is it? And what is the price elasticity of demand? So since Q is using the formula, we use the direct demand. B times price of X over quantity of X. This is on price elasticity of demand. X against X means it's in-house. You're dealing with the actual commodity. So the B is what? -3. What was the price of X? 2. What is our Q? 64. So what are we getting? -6 over 64. What is it giving us? -0.
Sorry, Collins. The Q is supposed to be 58 and not 64.
58. All right, thank you for that. So here we put 58. So when we substitute, what are we getting?
-0.1.
-0.1. So what's your comment here? Inelastic.
Inelastic. It's inelastic.
Correct. And when we go to cross price elasticity of demand, it's crossing from good X to good Y. So we're going to look at the slope times the price of Y over the quantity of what? Of X. So it's moving from good X to good Y. It's crossing. So what is the slope? 4. You will know when you are dealing with cross price elasticity, there are only 2 comments. It's either a complement or a substitute. So what's the price of X? What's the price of Y? 3. And our quantity found as what? 58. So what are we getting? When you divide, we get what? 0.207. Can somebody comment? What is your comment on this? What kind of good is this?
It's a substitute good.
Great. What's your name? It's a substitute good. Yeah. Because elasticity of a substitute good is what? It's positive.
Positive.
Right. You can also see from the what? From the signs. These signs, this good and this good, are have the same signs, they're complementing each other, they're opposing each other, they're substituting. And finally, income, elasticity of demand. I told you the types of 3 goods that we are looking at, either an inferior good, a normal good, or a luxurious good. So here we have y over qx. So the slope, this one is what? 10. So put 10 there. Times price, the income was at 5. So income is what? 5 over 58. So this will give us 50 over 58. What are you getting?
0.86.
0.86. So what's our comment?
It's a normal good.
Excellent. I like you already. You're not in BID. All right. You're officially discharged. So this is a normal good. Suppose we got 1.86. What would we say?
Luxury.
Luxury good.
Luxury. And suppose we got negative 0.86.
Inferior good. Oh, come again. 0. What?
Negative 0.86. If it was negative, we'd have
Negative. That's an inferior. Anything negative is an inferior good.
anything negative is an inferior good. All right.